Welcome to another exciting episode of Conversational Pace. We have a new brand. The big cat, Puma, has finally made it to the Conversational Pace channel. This is probably like the biggest footwear brand that we have yet to have on the channel. I feel like most of our new brands are like smaller upstarts, but like Puma is a massive footwear company.
In context to Nike, how big?
I don't remember. I think it's like, was it like Nike, Adidas, Puma?
Okay. Wow. Yeah.
Which one of the founders of Puma is the brother of one of the founders of Adidas. They just like, I don't know, split. I might be botching that story a lot, but it's
cool.
Pretty
true.
It's pretty close. Someone can fact check me on that one. This is the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite Trail, the only shoe out there whose race you will finish before you are done saying the name of the shoe. Trail super shoe from Puma. We're going to dive into it, tell you all about it, maybe even give some opinions. Before we get going, though, just want to let everyone know these shoes were provided to us by Puma and Running Warehouse, but we're under no financial obligation to say whether we like the shoe or not, because we want to keep these reviews authentic and beneficial for you. No one will get to preview or watch this footage before it gets published to YouTube. If you don't want to look at us, or you're on a run and you would rather just listen to it, subscribe to the Conversational Pace Patreon channel, where you get full access to the audio versions of all of these reviews, plus a handful of other subscriber perks. Quick rundown of the shoe stats. So, what do we even call? I don't want to say the full name.
I think Nitro Elite. What if we just said Nitro Elite?
Nitro Elite Trail.
Yeah.
Okay, I like that because, there's a lot going on here. The Nitro Elite Trail is $230 US. I didn't weigh it because my pair is still a little bit damp from my run today, but I'll put the weight up right now. Definitely on the lighter side as far as trail super shoes go. Stack height, we're looking at 30 millimeters in the forefoot, 36 millimeters in the heel for a 6 millimeter drop. Moving on to the materials. The upper, one thing I will credit Puma with is that they've got a name for like everything on this shoe.
Brand it.
Yeah, it's branded. This is the Ultra Weave upper, which is kind of like a plasticky. Let's see. Oh yeah. It's a plasticky kind of engineered mesh. I will say it feels a lot like Matrix.
Yeah.
Like the thin plastic, airy, kind of breathable, non-stretch material.
Budget Matrix.
Budget Matrix, but like, yeah, in-house Matrix. Who knows? We got a little bit of like underlay creating the toe bumper shape, but it's got, no protection at all there. We do have a very open mesh kind of stretch vamp, which goes straight into the tongue, which is gusseted just around right around the middle of the midfoot. One thing that I noticed, Finn, I'm actually curious about your pair. Your tongue doesn't have any loops to like slide the laces through, does it?
No.
On the Puma website, I was going through just making sure I had all my facts straight. Look at one of the main pictures on the Puma website. I'll put it up right now. And the tongue on that shoe on the website has loops on the tongue to go through laces, which we'll dive into this a little bit more into the fit and stuff. But my tongue did slide down on runs. And I was like, wow, why is there not loops? Does anyone else's shoe have a tongue with loops? I looked at the Running Warehouse listing.
Put yours up close to the camera, just so I could see.
Yeah, like it's the tongue's not attached to the laces.
Yep.
It's just it does have the gusset or the midfoot wrap, around there, but like it's not like stiff enough to keep the tongue from sliding down. So I will say my tongue folded down on me. The Puma listing pictures show loops across the tongue. Mine doesn't have them. The Running Warehouse listing, they take their own pictures of the shoe. The shoes that they use, the tongue did not have the loops through the tongue. So I'm just curious about that. Like, was it?
You don't even have like small little slits there?
No.
Okay, I actually do. I have these.
What?
See these little like at the very top of the tongue? Can you see that?
Yeah, but you couldn't fit laces through that.
You can.
Could you
You
really?
totally can. Look at that. Just did it. It's not obvious because there's just like a whole pattern of them.
Because those definitely look like they're for breathability.
They probably are for breathability, but I'm saying I guess if you wanted to, you could put them through. But I'm not sure if it's the same. I haven't seen the shoe on the website, so I can't verify if it's the same thing. But I can stick laces through the top. I don't know if that was intended for laces or if it's for ventilation.
For that, I'm going to share my screen. See that, Tongue?
Dude, this is the first screen share in CP history. Let's go.
Are you seeing this? Like, that's like clearly
Yes.
cut marks for
Yeah,
the tongue.
you're right. I do not have that.
Yeah. So it's weird that something like this would be in like a pre-production, but then not make the production.
Super, dude. Great catch.
Yeah.
You're not going to find that on other channels.
No, definitely not. And, you know, that we might have just lost a few viewers because they're like, these people are talking about the tongue way too much. But I think it was important to note.
You're going to have that commenter that's like, no, keep talking about the tongue. That's why we love you guys.
Yeah. The tongue is very thin. It has no padding. It just has a little bit of like overlay material in the top half. The laces, the bottom two eyelets are kind of just a classic. And then there's just like one big old fat, like ghillie style eyelet in the middle, which leads to a couple of their overlays right around the midfoot, which Puma calls power tape, which I think is just a sweet name, like power tape.
I want to be in those marketing boardrooms so bad just to hear like the riffing on names and like when they reach the moment where it's like, we're going with this one. Like, where were they?
Yeah, I mean, power tape, that's like, I love, because it's just an overlay. It's just an overlay. But why not call it something cool? You know, like Nike Flywire or something. But like, yeah. So kudos to you, Puma marketing team, for power tape. What else? Oh, the ankle collar has a very thin amount of padding going around the side. And then the heel cup does have, I think there is something in there towards the bottom.
Absolutely.
It's pretty hard.
Pretty structured.
But only in like the bottom half. It's got a little bit of flex at the top. On the inside of the ankle collar, I thought they were bumps, but they're actually dimples, where the main piece of fabric has a bunch of holes cut into it. They're kind of hard to see. I'll try my best to show it, but I imagine that's to help with, you know, grip and like heel slippage. Because it's never really been a spot where I thought, oh, we should add some breathability there. So I doubt that those are like breathability holes. They got to be more for like grip. That was a lot. That was a lot about the upper. I think that's everything. Oh yeah. Loop, pull tab on the back. Thank you. The midsole, there's actually quite a bit to unpack on the midsole as well. We're going to get through it. So this is Nitro Foam Elite, which is this is Puma's full-blown super foam. So it is the same type of foam that we see in like the Deviate Nitro Elite Road Super Shoe. It's also the same foam compound as what is in the newly released Fast R3, which, you know, there's been a whole lot of articles going around about some studies about how the R3, that shoe, the shape, the foam, has provided like a 2 to 3% jump over the current best super shoes. So this is the same foam. It's not the same density. This has been tuned more for trail, so it is firmer to be a little bit more stable. Whether we think that's like necessary or not, I mean, that's a debate we can have in a few minutes, but I'm just calling it as it is. So Nitro Foam Elite, we're going really nerdy on this episode because this is a trail super shoe and we like to go.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Why would you need to tune the foam for trail if you have a carbon plate there as well for stiffness?
Well, the carbon plate, while it does add some stiffness, it's not always going to add that immediate availability of like stability, because if you say had to like compress the foam halfway down just to get the carbon plate to stabilize you, there's a lot of wiggle room for the shoe to move. And then the counter argument's like, well, then just make the plate lower. It's like, well, you add the plate lower, now it'll like really tip off of rocks and stuff. So Yeah, the carbon plate's going to add a little bit of stiffness to the shoe, but a lot of the stability comes in the combination of like the correct foam density, the plate placement, and then like the tooling of the foam. So, and every shoe company is going to have slightly different goals, which is going to
Sure.
lead to like different varying amounts of ingredients to get to their desired level of cushioning, stability, stiffness. For Puma, it's a slightly firmer version of their Nitro Foam Elite, which is an eTPU compound. So it's not PBA or PBAX or EVA. It's an aliphatic eTPU. And I mean, yeah, we could have maybe one day we'll try and do a whole episode breaking down like the chemical compound, like the properties of it. But I think it was Lil Wayne who said Nitro Foam Elite, it's proprietary branded. eTPU, the E is for expanded. I think that might have been Lil Wayne. Don't quote me on that. But the E in the TPU is it's expanded, which basically means it's super critically formed. So that's what makes it extra fun. It's 2 layers of Nitro Foam Elite, but you can actually only see one. We were talking about this offline, and it's interesting because we have basically a carrier foam and a big bathtub type construction, but the other, so we have what we see, except it's dished out a whole bunch. And in there is the carbon plate, which is like a relatively full length carbon plate. On top of that carbon plate is just another layer of Nitro Foam Elite, but it's dropped in. And they went for the big bathtub construction and basically a drop in with a carrier of the same foam because it helped with stability.
Okay.
So I thought that was cool to see basically the carrier be super foam and the drop in also be super foam. That's the breakdown of the midsole. Outsole is Puma's own Puma grip outsole material, which we've actually worn some Puma road shoes in the past, and like we were like this close to reviewing one of their road shoes as a door to trail shoe because the outsole grip was that great. And this rubber, this for in-house rubber, it's really good. 3mm lugs, which yeah, we'll talk about that. And it's a very unique lug pattern. I've never seen like such like you had noted like there's a lot of surface area. Like these lugs are wide and flat. 3mm. I was thought this was interesting. Right under the midfoot, this big purple piece, also absent in the Puma listing, but on their website. But there's this big purple piece that's harder, and it says power plate on it. So I actually was talking to one of the main developers of the shoe, trying to confirm like, is this the power plate or can I not see the power plate? And the power plate is the carbon plate that you cannot see. It just says power plate on it, but this isn't even plastic, turns out either. This is actually a very, very, very hard piece of EVA foam, which I thought was interesting because I just didn't even know EVA could be that hard. And it was basically because like plastic was too hard and this was like the nice in between. It's there basically because they wanted to cut out a section of rubber because they were like, we don't need that much rubber right there. So it saves weight, but then they also wanted to protect the super foam. So they just added this insert. I have a hunch that it also adds like maybe just a little bit of stiffness and like torsional stability, maybe some midfoot protection.
Are you noticing, did you have any like tapering in your lugs too? Like, yes, they're 3mm, but like some angles of them are as low as like 1mm or 2mm off.
Yeah, they're ramped.
Yeah.
Like quite a bit.
And angled.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting. And it makes it hard to tell if I'm wearing them down or not.
Exactly.
Like they're hiding potential durability issues. But okay, that's the materials. That was long. There's a lot of dead space that I'll be able to cut out of that. But
Worth it.
it was worth it. That was a good breakdown. Testing mileage. Finn, what'd you get?
Okay. This is the first shoe in I think 3 or 4 reviews where I broke the 100-mile mark. 102 miles. Did one race in it, the Serengeti 50K out in Tooele, Utah. 3 40-plus minute tempo steady state workouts on rolling trail terrain. Did one steep hiking session and then also took it out the door to Liberty Park on some road miles. So quite a bit of variability. Workouts. I mean, I'd say the majority of my miles in the shoe were actually workout miles. Like it's a super shoe, and so I tried to bring it through the faster paces. Yeah, springtime trail running here in Utah. It was kind of the perfect time of year to test this out. How about
That's
you?
good. I did not hit the 100-mile barrier. I I tried, but I'm just only running so much right now. Part of that was just like unfortunate timing, like with recovery of Big Alta and then being gone for a week. But I hit 75 miles, 14 and a half hours time on feet, and about 16,000 feet of climbing. So it was actually kind of a pretty vert heavy 75 miles. Handful of hikes. Benji and I, we upgraded. We're in the backpack carrier now. Osprey carrier review coming soon. So did some hikes. Not that like this, not that I'm going to say this is a hiking shoe, but it was interesting to get in some like weighted hikes in the shoe to just see what that felt like. Because in my head, I'm like, this is how it would be feeling like if I'm like majorly blowing up at the end of a race. It's like, how does this feel as I'm blowing up? Did some workouts, flatter workouts, hill up and down workouts, and a handful of easy runs as well. So I took it through most of the stuff. The only thing I didn't do was like a super long run. I think I topped out at about 2 hours. But I feel like I've run enough in it where I can speak about, durability a bit, as well as, what I think of the fit and the feel.
Yep.
Speaking of the fit, I thought that, so mine's a size 10. I thought it is pretty true to size, maybe trending like ever so slightly long, like not enough to the point where and I think most of that length is just from the pointy toe box.
Yeah.
It felt more like a Solomon's length for like a 10,
Sure.
where like I'm still gonna wear it, but I'm probably not gonna go down to a 9.5. Fit wise, definitely feels like a performance fitting race type shoe where I've got like good snugness through the heel and midfoot, and I don't have much wiggle room in the forefoot, and like having a slightly narrower foot, I could see the width of the shoe being problematic for like wider feet. Like even comparing, like the Nike Ultrafly has a much more rounded toe box than this one. Like I have more toe splay room in the Ultrafly than this Nitro Trail Elite. What did you think of the fit?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, the fit of this shoe is a major win for me. I'm a big fan of these, and I'm going to say it's a thin, somewhat unstructured, minimalistic, flexible upper. Like even just like starting with the toe bumper, I love it. Like there's not really like an overbuilt toe bumper here. It's pretty minimal.
Agreed.
When I first got this shoe, like when I took it out of the box, I thought I was looking at a road shoe initially.
Yeah.
You see this vamp here, this sort of black material, this extended toe mesh. I love the flexibility of this material. I think that if you do have a bigger volume foot, but you're worried about width in the toe box in this type of shoe, I found that it did kind of expand to whatever sort of the volume of your foot was. So there is a little bit of wiggle room there for that.
Ooh, question for you.
Yeah.
Do you think that if there was no vamp here, no stretch vamp, and it was just this, what do they call this? Ultra weave across the top of the forefoot, do you think it would have been too tight for you?
Agree. Totally. I think the vamp changes the experience in the forefoot. I think it's a critical piece to just like the adjustability for like foot volume.
Also very comfortable.
And then I maybe had a slightly different take than you did around like performance fit. Like I do agree it's a performance fit, but it did, and I was telling you off this offline, it did remind me a bit the upper of the Ultra Mont Blanc and also the Tecton X3 in that it was on the roomier side, thank you to the vamp. There's just a little bit more adjustability up here than you would have in just some of the other super shoes that we have reviewed. And so, yeah, there's just a fair amount of stretch to this material. I thought that was a big thing. Pretty breathable. Like it's a lightweight construction.
Yep.
Yeah, like this upper was great. Definitely a performance fit, but just a little bit forgiving, like just enough forgiveness, which would make me want to take it out for more than just a few hours. That's the difference maker for me.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I'm always curious because it's like, I worry sometimes the shoes that fit my feet really well are awful for most other people. But having the stretch vamp allows it to have a little bit more adjustability, which is nice.
Well, a good example is like when I raced the Serengeti 50K, I had some foot swelling and I still wasn't like dying to rip this shoe off because it kind of like grew with my foot up front.
That is nice.
You
That's
know?
super nice. I thought the lockdown on the shoe is excellent, going back to like the slightly stiffer heel counter, and you know, just not. I just have like not much movement at all. Going like straight down steep stuff, and also like taking faster turns, switchbacks, running on slightly off camber terrain. I feel like this held my foot in place over the platform of the shoe very well. I think also the bathtub construction of the shoe needs to get some credit for that
Totally.
secure lockdown as well.
One other thing that I'm starting to appreciate when it comes to like the heel counters, I do like sort of this relatively sharp V construction, but then creating enough padding to that your Achilles never touches like the back of the heel, but it's kind of resting secured between the two sort of bumpers of foam there.
Yeah.
Comfortable.
See, I'm okay with this. I would love to see it like swallowtail outward a bit, like we've seen in like a lot of Hoka shoes, like the Speedgoat and like a lot of Nikes. We see it too, to like not like you still get that hug, but then it by the top of this Achilles just like swooping outward, like we just reduce any risk of Achilles pressure. I didn't get it in this shoe, but I was definitely worried because it's a pretty tall, tall Achilles of the counter.
Yes.
But I didn't have any issues. I didn't have any heel slippage issues as well. I was also worried about that because there's not much padding back there. And, it really comes down to shape. But I will say that Puma shaped it really well, and I didn't have any problems.
I honestly hope that for V2 they changed nothing about the upper.
The only thing I want them to change is to add back the damn little cuts in the tongue, because the tongue slid down on me. It was just a cosmetic annoyance because the tongue is so thin, even though it folded down like one little fold at the bottom, I didn't feel it at all because the material is so thin. But when I'd finish my run and I can see like the top lace crossover is just over my sock and not the tongue, I was like, well, that's annoying. That looks stupid. So
one last thing for me, you can tell I'm loving this upper. I love the design. Like I think that
it's
like
cool looking.
The Puma logo is cool. This is like mid '90s Phoenix Suns, like Charles Barkley.
Yeah,
I'm just digging like the colorways and stuff. Like Puma is made a cool looking shoe,
dude. And for them to ombre their super foam, like there haven't been very many brands out there to even be able to color their super foams in any significantly nice sort of way. So for Puma to not only be like, we can make our super foam purple, but we can also like purple to neon salmon it in the back. So I like the stylistic flares. You're totally right with that. Should we move on to how the shoe actually feels underfoot?
Yeah, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Did you notice the carbon plate?
So not really. And I think that's a good thing. I don't want to notice the carbon plate. Like I would like to notice an extreme shape of the shoe. So like, like I notice the extreme rocker of like the Adidas Agravic Speed Ultra, but that's mostly due to the shape of the foam and not because like the rods are like bent all funny. This shoe, I will say, like as far as like trail super shoes go, the geometry of this, like the heel bevel, the forefoot rocker, it's probably the most conservatively shaped trail super shoe that I've run in, with second place probably being the Nike Ultrafly. Like I feel like the Nike Ultrafly, it's like not that aggressively rockered, doesn't have a crazy stuff going on with the heel, but it's just like it's stiff and has a super foam. This reminded me a lot of that, except even less aggressive feeling, which I think can be a good thing. The fact that it's not super aggressive feeling.
If you don't notice it, is that the sign that it's a more flexible plate?
Definitely got some flexibility to it for sure. I mean, like even just like it's got some bend. It was like I couldn't do that at all in like the Asics Metafuji Trail. It's got some bend. I will say, like, how do you compare this to like the flexibility of the Prodigio Pro, which has no plate at all? And it's like, okay, the Prodigio Pro, I feel is significantly more flexible. It's like if I'm hiking, like, and my heel's not touching the ground, I do notice the stiffness of the shoe. So then in that regard, I feel the plate. But most of the time, anything running, it's like I don't feel the plate. Instead, I just feel like a harmonious synchronization of foam, plate, and shape,
Mm.
which actually I kind of liked. What did you think?
So I was reading some of the other reviews out there, and one of them that I agreed with. So Taylor Bowden at Believe in the Run was talking about his experience with this shoe, and I noticed something he said late in that Serengeti race when I was getting super tired in the back half of the race, and I was on some of the steep descent sections. Just naturally, I started to heel strike a lot more. And when I was heel striking on those descents, I definitely felt like like I felt the plate, like a pretty unusual amount of heel pressure there. And
Hmm.
so I saw that as a negative. And I think like, and also if you're just like naturally a heel striking runner, like I agree with him that like we could use probably some more support under the arch there.
Mhm.
Um,
I
but
feel
that was,
like also it could be a little slappy feeling as a heel, like if you're a
yeah,
predominant heel striker because you don't have a nice big heel like that's beveled out, or do you have a flexible back half? Like I
yeah,
feel like you need one of those two to crash a heel strike to roll through, whereas this is going to be like pop off the
yeah.
midfoot friendly.
And then it's a pretty narrow shoe, like you were saying earlier. And so I think inherently, if you're on anything more than mellow trail terrain, there are going to be some instability issues. Although they have baked some cool stuff into like the back half of the shoe, for example, like some of this extending foam out here for added stability. But like yeah, when I was going through like rock garden sections on some of my runs, uh, it's not like the perfect shoe for those settings.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. What did you think of this foam?
Dude, I thought it was super plush. Yeah, like I thought it was super plush. And like I was getting a lot of energy return. Like I think I was telling you
Mm-hmm.
before this recording that like for whatever reason in this shoe, I was climbing like way better than I normally do
Dude, same.
in other performance fitting shoes. And so I was getting like a really like pleasant, like soft experience underfoot, but I still felt like I was getting this like really efficient amount of power with each step, especially on uphills.
Yep. I also had that same thing where it's like the shoes got some nice bounce to it. I will say like I thought the Tecton X3 definitely felt softer, but this almost felt bouncier. You know, like if we were thinking a trampoline, like the Tecton X3 doesn't have as tight of springs. So it's like I get to come down, but like I also come back up like quite a bit. This one's just got tighter springs, so I'm not coming down quite as far, but it's still rebounding like nearly as much of that energy, maybe even more. But the numbers don't lie. I mean, we were just looking at my run from this morning, and I was telling you, I was like, dude, for my heart rate and for that weather, my Strava GAPs for my climbing should have been 8 to 8:30, and in this shoe, they were all like 7:30.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, and I know I'm not just magically that much fitter. Like I'm definitely
There's some assistance.
there's some is if I'm on like this is what I wrote down. I was like, if I'm on more runnable terrain, uphill or downhill, so like douche grade ups, douche grade down, what is that, like 10% max maybe,
Yeah.
up or down? I believe that this shoe is definitely helping me. As with a lot of carbon plated trail super shoes, I dislike descending in them when it gets steeper because, kind of like you had said in your 50K, when you started like getting a little sloppy, it got a little slappy, and you start to, I noticed that on steeper descents. Like I
Mm.
went down some like 20-30% descending type gradients, and then the shoe started to become less smooth as my foot would, I dig into the ground and it would just slap me forward. I wanted a little bit more roll.
I was doing a workout last night. It was like my final run in the shoe. And for whatever weird reason, I had, the Men's Warehouse commercial where it's like, you're going to like the way you look. I guarantee it. It was like, you're going to like the way you climb. I guarantee it. Like that should be the tagline for the shoe because it's fun. It's a fun shoe to climb in on douche grade
I
under
still don't like
15%,
hiking. I still don't like hiking up steeper
15%
grades
below.
in it. Yeah. If I'm hiking in this shoe, I would say of the carbon plated trail shoes, the one that I can tolerate hiking in the easiest is still Tecton X3. I
Yeah.
think this is second place though, because it does have a little bit of flex in the forefoot, and it's like I can do it. Um, Nike Ultrafly, that one felt so stiff in the forefoot where it like felt like my calves were on just going unnecessarily lactic
Yeah.
on any steeper climbing. Didn't quite get that in this, although it wasn't a shoe where I was like, oh, I could hike stuff all day. So I'm not taking this in places where I have to do a lot of hiking or steeper descending. But the foam, super, super fun on that more, anything more runnable terrain. So, in terms of what the shoe might be best for from a racing standpoint, what do you think?
Well, I did race in it, and I think my determination is it. I would take this in a race setting up to about 10, 11 hours, maybe a 12-hour race. So depending on
Like
where
100K
you're at as a
ish?
runner, anywhere from like a really tough techie 50K to, sorry, let me take that back. Not technical 50K, but
Yeah,
if
like
it
what?
takes you 11 hours to run a 50K, for example, I would take it in a 50K to 100K setting. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
taking it out for 100 miles, and I'm not taking it out on anything that's really above like carpety trail. Like I actually think
Yeah,
because this, if you look at the outsole, this shoe can work in like I've done a road run in it and it was
yeah,
fine. Like the outsole's kind of built for road too.
yeah,
Um,
yeah. Sure. We didn't talk about the outsole too much. It's very mellow. Like
yeah,
I'm not taking this. I took it on a muddier run, and it was terrible.
yeah.
Like it was slipping everywhere. But as these trails are drying up, they're getting like dustier and just kind of hard packed. This is great. Great dry condition shoe. And on like dry rock, I don't know about wet rock, but at least on dry rock and like dry wood, the rubber was tacky enough.
It seems like a great Ashland, Oregon shoe.
Oh yeah, dude, this is awesome shoe for around here.
Yeah,
I know it's
Ashland, Marin County.
yep, all of your buttery runnable trails. This shoe's great for it. Yeah, especially because like this outsole doesn't have a ton of bite, and a great door to trail shoe as well. Because yeah, I did a road run. I did a treadmill run. Um, it feels like a road shoe on the roads. Like it feels like a road super shoe. I did a road workout in this shoe. It was sick. It's like, dude, this you're training for a marathon and you want just a little bit beefier, like super trainer type vibes. Just you could get one of these. It would be great. So you did race in it. Would you race in it again?
I would, but again, contextually. And I think my problem with the shoe is that for where I'm based and with a lot of the trails that I'm training on and the races that I want to do, it's not a great fit.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but like I said, if I'm based where you're based, if I'm based sort of on the West Coast, um, it's a great option. And if like your daily reality is, doing Tolman, for example, in Ashland, like
Good old Tolman
hell
Creek
yeah,
Road.
this is your go-to shoe. And also, I should say, like I took it out for days where I wasn't running hard, and it didn't have that classic super shoe like wanting to make you run 2 minutes per mile faster. It wasn't trying to get you to run fast. Like you could sit back in it as well.
Mm-hmm. Although
Um,
you probably were a little bit faster,
I was,
but
yeah,
without the added effort.
without the added effort.
Yeah.
Um,
No, I agree. This shoe is really easy to jog in at all paces. I would race in it too. I wrote that I would definitely consider this shoe for like more runnable 50K to 50-mile races that do have climbing. So, even actually, we could even put that up to 100K. So, like, like by the time this episode comes out, the Canyons 100K will have already happened. But like, I would consider this for something like Canyons 100K. Your Lake Sonoma 50-mile. Uh,
yes,
even like your
maybe not Black Canyon though.
I'm on the fence for Black Canyon. Like having run just around the 50K, I'm like, I could see myself rocking this shoe for and it being awesome on some parts of the course, but then other sections I'd have to just pay attention a little more. So it might be a wash, but I would consider it. I also wrote down that I would run less verti and also non-technical trail, like up to 100 miles. Like I think this is a great javelina shoe.
Yes.
Because it's like got the outsole's got like just a little bit of tack, and it's not so aggressive that I feel like I couldn't handle running 100 miles in it. And it's breathable. It's got that pop.
Can
Yeah,
I can I ask you to get your crystal ball out? I have a fun question for you. Brett's crystal ball. 3 years from now, at what level of investment do you see Puma in the trail scene? Like, do they have a really marquee athlete roster? Do they have a great lineup of shoes? Like, are they competing head to head with Hoka and Nike? And like, tell me.
My sources say yes.
Wow.
No, I don't have any sources for that. It sounds like they have some, non-race shoes coming out in the future. But when you debut, like essentially the start of your trail line with like a race shoe like this, I would assume that you're going to get some fast people who run for your brand to race in it. Cause like, how are you supposed to sell any? Maybe we'll sell a few because we like this shoe, but I think where it'll really get tested is like when are some Puma athletes going to be winning trail races in this shoe? It just wouldn't make any sense for me for that not to happen and them have the shoe. So I bet they've got trail people in the next few years.
Okay.
It's a cool thing to do. All the brands are doing it.
For sure. So hot right now. Trail.
Yeah. Trail teams. So hot right now.
Puma would be a great candidate to do like the Project UTMB or Project Western States thing where like they come on the scene hot and they build the trail team with like a mission to go win a big race or something,
Dude, I nominate Finn Melanson as tribute. Finn will win UTMB in the next 3 years with the Puma shoes.
I'll win the UTMB media race.
Dude, what do you think, like, you get to go, so say you have like unlimited budget as Puma. Puma gives you unlimited budget to just go all in as a pro athlete. In the 3 years, what's your ceiling at UTMB? Like, can you crack the top 10? Like, that's an extreme crystal ball question. But it's like,
and when you say, when you're talking about this roadmap, am I dropping everything and doing everything legally, humanly possible to be my best self?
yeah. And also it's like paying the bills. Like any money that you're making right now, Puma pays you. And then like all of a sudden you're just a full-time pro athlete.
I would say yes, only because I think from like a performance opportunity standpoint, ultra running is one of the most democratic sports, and it still rewards hard work and execution.
Yeah.
Slightly over like athletic talent.
Yeah. Dude, I think with those kinds
we
of
should do it.
resources-
Some brands should do it for you and me.
I mean, dude, how many times have we said
We-
this?
we
We've
said
got
every
no
time.
bites. We've got no bites.
No bites. If it, oh god.
But yeah,
Clear the deck
I think
for us.
you could
clear
top
the
10.
deck for us, and this would be the content would be so good.
I think you could top 10. Yeah. But
I think you definitely could.
especially with the Puma Nitro Elite Trail.
I'm telling you, this would be the coolest. Like the content that would come out of this would be sick.
Dude, MTV made.
Someone is gonna
Presents.
listen. Someone's gonna hear us.
Yeah. One of these days. All right. Let's talk about so there's a lot of competitor shoes just because I would pretty much consider like all of the trail super shoes to be competitor shoes with this one. But my number one shoe that I would say this reminded me of the most was the Nike Ultrafly, where our Nike Ultrafly review is like pretty old at this point. The shoe's pretty old at this point. And this, to me, this feels like the upgrade, like the update to the Ultrafly. Like a lot of the things I wanted the Ultrafly to change is what exists in this Puma trail shoe. Like it's lighter weight, it's a little bit less aggressive, it's got an even more fun midsole foam, and it still feels like I'm gonna get quite a few miles out of it.
Wait, did this just cannibalize the Ultrafly 2?
Well, I don't know. Yeah, I'm curious to see what Ultrafly 2 will actually be. But I think I think Puma they made a great play in the space with this. Like Adidas Gravic Speed Ultra is another one that I wrote down because the price points are the same, but they're two totally different feeling shoes. Like if you want a really fun foam, but a not insane feeling underfoot like shape, the Puma is the one you should go to over the Adidas.
So
what do you think?
yeah, I would agree. There was one other thing that I just wanted to add in about durability.
Yeah.
And I think the tech sheet says that this thing could go 500 miles.
Yeah, this foam is supposed to be very durable.
And I actually think I believe it. And
I think I do too.
And here's the reason why I think I believe it. Because my number one concern when it comes to durability in this shoe is actually the outsole. But
That's exactly what I wrote down.
because the outsole is basically a road outsole to begin with, I don't really care if I lose those 3 millimeters on the type of terrain that I was going to use it for anyways.
Yeah.
So I do think because of that, the shoe will last 500 miles for whatever training I'm doing in that environment.
Yep. Other super foams that we've tested, like by 15 hours time on feet, I'm usually seeing like a decent amount of creasing in the shoe. And, a lot of the times like mile one and that super shoe is the best mile and it just over time gets like gradually worse. This one still feels like freaking brand new, even after 15 hours. Like I'm pretty stoked with this foam, and I think Puma might be right about that like 500-mile claim. It just comes down to like how well you're able to tolerate a bare outsole.
Dude, I think this is the least complaints I've had about a shoe. I feel like I've been kind of down on a lot of shoes recently, and this is the least complaints I've had in a shoe for a while.
Yeah, as far as like shoes we've reviewed for 2025, this is definitely one of my favorites for sure. Well, we haven't even done any like plated trail super shoes this year, right?
No,
This is like the first one.
no, first one.
Because all we've done is like Norda 005 and Prodigio Pro.
I've liked all the super shoes that we reviewed this year so far.
Yeah. Huh. Good year for trail super shoes. But yeah, so we both think it's going to be pretty durable. How do you feel about the $230 price point?
I'm fine with it, especially because I think it's going to last 500 miles. I think I'm
I
going to get a
agree.
really good bang for the buck.
I agree. And it's very comfortable. And I think everything you're getting, and apparently according to like a lot of some of the newest studies, like at least as far as roads go, it's the best road foam on the market. So make it a little firmer. Is this the best trail foam on the market? I don't know. I mean, I definitely, as far as midsole foams go, I like this. I was actually thinking of maybe doing like we might need to do a little bit of brainstorming, and I was thinking of doing like a Patreon post of just like our hierarchy of midsole foams. Like what's number one? Like for me, it had always been like Ultras, was it Ego
Dude,
Pro?
I love Ego
Max?
foam.
Yeah. Like whatever their super one is. But this might,
All hail Arnitel, though.
dude, this might dethrone it. I don't know. This is one of my favorite foams.
I think Arnitel's my favorite.
The TPEE.
Dude.
Yeah, TPE is sweet. Yeah, this is a good shoe. Yeah, I would recommend it. If there's anything that we skipped or looked over, just let us know in the comments. If we don't get to you, subscribe to the Patreon, and then definitely we'll get to you. But if everything we said sounds like this is the trail super shoe of your dreams and your local run specialty shop doesn't have it, feel free to use our link in the show notes below to purchase the Puma Deviate Nitro Elite Trail from our friends at Running Warehouse. Your purchase helps support the channel, allows us to keep doing shoe reviews like this. Good luck at Cocodona, Finn.
Oh, dude. Well, by the time, when is this coming out?
Probably right around Cocodona time.
Okay, so
Maybe while you're out in the desert wandering through, I'll drop this review.
I'm stoked.